Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Thursday, October 16th, 2025. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Ramin Satuda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. On today's episode, we'll talk with Variety's Gene Maddaus about his eye-opening article on AI being used in the front lines of creative development, reading and evaluating scripts. Is the script reader rung of the production ladder about to go away? Gene unpacks his reporting. And we'll conclude our week on the French Riviera with a roundtable with my three Variety colleagues who joined me in covering the Mipcom content market: Elsa Keslassy, John Hopewell, and Leo Barraclough. But before we get to that, here are a few headlines just in this morning that you need to know. Warner Bros. Discovery has struck a streaming distribution pact with Korea's CJ There's HBO Max will distribute CJ TVing streaming platform in 17 markets across Asia Pacific, including Southeast Asia, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. CBS News head of standards, Claudia Milne, has exited amid the shakeup in the division and the arrival of Barry Weiss as editor-in-chief. My colleague Brian Steinberg has the scoop. R.I.P. to actor Penelope Milford. She was so good in 1978's Coming Home, for which she earned an Oscar nomination. She was 77. You can find all of these stories and so much more on Variety.com right now. Now we turn to conversations with Variety journalists about news and trends in show business. Gene Maddaus, Variety's senior media reporter, has the details about a momentous test that was recently staged by the Editors Guild. Who does the job better, AI software or professional script readers? Gene Maddaus, thank you for joining me.
Happy to be here.
Gene, you have been on a mission to look really deeply at AI and look at concrete ways in which this revolutionary technology is changing the business. And you've delivered us a story this week. It's in the Variety's print edition as well as online. A great, deeply reported story about a very specific use case for AI that definitely involves human activity. Tell us the basic concept of what you wrote about, and tell us what was the spark for you to pursue this story.
And we've been covering AI certainly intensely since the strikes, and the writers and the actors both had their own unique concerns about what could happen if AI came into their domains and started writing scripts and started acting in movies, right? And I was more interested in this case in what is already happening, not what threats are sitting on the horizon and could be in the future happening, but what is actually happening now. This one was a really concrete one of what can AI do that we know it can do now today. It can absolutely summarize written material. And everybody who's Googled something or looked at ChatGPT or asked for a quick summary of something knows that it can do that. And so there are people in Hollywood, obviously, who are paid to read scripts and summarize them, who would be at the front lines of people who are impacted by AI, if in fact that becomes like a standard thing in the industry. So that's what I wanted to look at. What are those folks worried about and what are they doing about it?
What is the specific program or platform that is the focal point of your story?
So there are a few of them, and they're all built sort of on top of the standard LLMs that everybody knows about, ChatGPT or Llama or Claude that's available. And then what these things are is they're very small teams of people, 3-4 people who can program an interface that's geared specifically for screenplays based on those language models. So there's a couple. There's ScriptSense is a very popular one. There's one called Greenlight. There's Avail. We talk about Screenplay IQ in the story. But there's a number of these that are out there that are using AI technology specifically to give feedback and notes on screenplays, to summarize screenplays. And that's exactly what a story analyst in Hollywood does, is write a coverage report based on a screenplay and tell the bosses, here's what's in this and here's whether you should make it or not. And that's what these programs are purporting to do.
The proponents of AI say that the AI tools are going to do the drudge work, the labor-intensive stuff that nobody really likes doing but is essential to the process. But here we go right to something that there's no question reading a script is a subjective thing. They're looking for voice and nuance, and does the person have a flair for dialogue?
What's interesting is the people who make these platforms, I mean, part of their purpose in making them is they feel like that subjectivity is a problem, right? And wouldn't it be great if there were computers that could objectively analyze whether a script is good or not, and then sort of the best ones float to the top? And so that was the motivation for creating this particular program. And so the people who are supportive of AI sort of see it as like leveling the playing field, right? Opening up opportunities and allowing you to focus on things that you might not have otherwise seen. But the script readers themselves wanted to know, like, what are we up against? And can this thing actually do my job? And so they investigated that, and they did a study of it to find out what is the difference between AI generated script coverage and human generated script coverage.
And what did they find, Gene?
It's parallel to what people have found about playing around with AI in many other domains. When it's tasked with just distilling the content, it does a pretty good job of that. It can write a log line just as well as a human being can write a log line, and maybe better, right? It doesn't have maybe the idiosyncratic problems that a human would introduce. It can summarize. So that's a little bit longer, but it can do a summary that's pretty good, but maybe not as good as a professional script reader doing it, but passable. It's when it gets to notes that the real problem begins. And evaluating critically, is this a good script? Does it have something new to say? Is it just regurgitating what we've already seen 1,000 times? That's where it just cannot do the job. That's what they found. Now, obviously, this is coming from the point of view of people who do this professionally, but they put it up against human script readers versus all these AI programs that we talked about and matched them across all these different dimensions and found that the notes are where the humans still beat the AI hands down.
Is there any union or any organization out there that is really up in arms about this on behalf of the platoons of script readers that work in Hollywood?
Yes, so full-time story analysts, I should say, that is their term. Full-time story analysts are represented by the Editors Guild, which is obviously part of IATSE. Freelance story analysts are not. This study was actually done under the aegis of the Editors Guild. And what's interesting about that is the Editors Guild is actually pretty pro-technology. When you think about editors, these are people who are pretty comfortable with, learning the next software program. The Writers Guild is obviously very concerned about any AI touching scripts at any point, and certainly need notification if AI is being used to evaluate their scripts. And so as of now, this is not really a thing that's being used in any kind of formal way, certainly at the studios. But independent producers, agencies, other places, they are definitely using this kind of thing. The AI companies will tell you that story analysts are using this right now on the sly, whether their employer is okay with it or not.
What was your sense of talking to industry executives about the use of this technology and whether they were concerned about a loss of specificity and a loss of finding the absolute gem of a writer in a spec script?
If you talk to the top people who do story analysis at the studios, they will tell you that the executives really do rely on them and value their input and see it as a vital, essential part of their process, and would be pretty unhappy to have that person replaced by a computer. The concern that people have is, to what degree does this become kind of normalized over time? And when a younger generation comes up that has spent their whole school years using AI to help with their studying and help write their college essays or whatever, are those folks going to be much more comfortable with this kind of thing? And the way that they do things now will just be completely outmoded. That's really the fear.
Well, I think we've probably raised enough nail-biting concerns for our industry for one segment. Gene, thanks for your labor, as always.
Thanks for having me.
Now we'll wrap up our coverage of the Mipcom content market in Cannes with a lively conversation with my three Variety colleagues. Elsa Keslassy, international editor who is based in Paris, John Hopewell, intrepid correspondent and editor of our Digital Dailies franchise who is based in Madrid, and Leo Barraclough, International Features Director, who is based in London. We are all running on fumes after a busy market, but here's our best effort to make some sense of the week that was. And we all extend our gratitude to Mipcom Chief Lucy Smith and her staff for treating Team Variety so well. Elsa Keslassy, John Hopewell, and Leo Barraclough, we made it through MIP.
Indeed.
Yes. As we all call it a wrap here today on Thursday, October 16th, thought it would be fun to go through some questions about things that stood out to us. Appreciate you guys coming to play here. Okay, let me start pretty broad. Most surprising moment of the week.
That I noticed how packed the session with YouTube was. YouTube celebrates its 20-year anniversary this year, and they made their first official presence at Mipcom. And you had Pedro Pina, who's the boss of EMEA for YouTube, who had a conversation with the BBC Studios executive. And the session was packed like no other that I've noticed at Mipcom.
We had CEO Neil Mohan on the cover in March of this year and really put their 20-year milestone into perspective. What about you, Leo?
I did an on-stage interview with Robbie Brenner, who's the head of Mattel Studios, and she was emphasizing the fact that she wanted the project to surprise, and certainly one of her projects surprised me because it's a live-action movie based on Monster High, and the director is going to be Gerard Johnston, who's best known for the horror hit Megan.
Mine was probably how happy people seemed, whilst at the same time, Guy Bisson, for example, at Ampere Analysis was saying we're still at 75% of peak TV. In other words, you have 100% production sector spawned by peak TV, chasing 75% of the market. If it's sunny, people tend to forget that.
For me, the biggest surprise overall was how significant the microdrama business is. I attended a really great presentation from an analyst named Claire Thompson, and the size and scope of this business is impressive. It's growing in the U.S. Most surprising single fact you heard. We all moderated panels. We sat through panels. There's a lot of facts and figures talked about. I will start with this one, back to the microdrama panel. This blew my mind in tracing the arc of microdramas starting in China in 2018. The first big audience for them in that time frame was older people ages 40 to 60, and completely counterintuitive.
It would be rather like, you said, microdramas. I talked to the people who were making the first microdrama in the Arab world. The revenue this year, not in 2030, in 2025 will reach $11 billion, which is already double the size of the revenues for fast channels. That is huge.
What about you, Elsa?
So for me, the biggest surprise was hearing Marco Bassetti from Banijay, which is a company best known for unscripted formats, like MasterChef. They're actually looking to invest more in movies because Marco thinks that people are going to get tired of series repeating themselves with the same plots. And so he thinks that there's going to be a growing appetite for movies and he wants to invest more.
Leo, what about you?
The fact that surprised me was in Mip Junior, which is for children's shows, and it's that 65% of 8 to 11-year-olds have their own social media account, and amongst 3 to 8-year-olds, they watch 5.5 hours a day or more.
All right, most con moment. Something funny you overheard or observed, something that would only happen in con.
So for me, the most Cannes moment was having a great lunch on the beach with Shira Lazar, who hosted the digital upfronts this year. And then I saw Caroline Benjo, my great friend, a great producer from France, who actually was on the co-production panel that you hosted, Cynthia. And it was so, interesting to have a French producer and an American digital creator, Shira. It was like the best of both worlds coming together on the beach in Cannes.
Yes, she was so impressive. John, you are definitely a veteran of the Croisette. This time around, what was your most Cannes moment?
It's seeing people who know they're on to a great deal. A company called Scene, based in the Lebanon, Rotana Media, which is one of the biggest studios in the Arab world, presenting that they were going to create the first slate ever of microdramas in the Arab world. And they knew, you could see it on their faces at the press conference, they knew that they were going to make a proverbial packet.
I'm going to stretch your definition a little bit, because last night I went on a set visit to a town down the coast called Cassis, beautiful town, and there's a German production being shot there, a series called West End Girl, and I met the cast and crew, and one of them, Lukas Gregorowitz, he's very well known in Germany. He's in the German version of Called My Agent, for example. He happens to know someone I lived with while I was at university, and I haven't seen for decades. So that one of those kind of moments where paths cross that you didn't expect.
That segues nicely into mine, which was I could not believe I ran into Paul Siegel, who is in his mid-80s now, and he was the owner of a little company called All American, which gave the world Baywatch. He and his brother sold All American 30 years ago, but he's still in the business. He owns an animation company in Mumbai, because I think of media entrepreneurs, I think they have trouble stopping. Last one. Biggest questions you have leaving this market. What concepts, what stories are you going to chase?
I'm just wondering about the future of the creator economy and if we're going to see another platform as powerful as YouTube emerging in the future, because right now YouTube is in a very dominant position. And also if that creator economy is really there to stay or if it's a phase.
I will say that I have been extremely skeptical of when the world of creators and social media video, when would it amount to a real business for professional high-end content producers? And I do think that moment is coming. There's a whole world of AI and marketing and branding infrastructure around the creator economy. John, what's the big idea, the big concept that you're going to be thinking about?
I think business models which really monetize the collaboration which you now see from the old economy and the new economy, for example, Banijay and YouTube.
What about you, Leo?
My question is, where is the next big, huge, unscripted format going to come from? Because a lot of the legacy formats like Got Talent, Idol, The Family Feud, The Price is Right, they are decades old. And so where's the next one coming from? I mean, okay, you've got Traitors, which is fantastic. And Fremantle have something called Pandora's Box, which they hope will be huge. Talpa, which is owned by John de Mol, they've got something called The Floor, which is now in 30 territories. And so that is succeeding. But these things are rare.
John de Mol is a Paul Siegel type. I think he's easily on his fourth or fifth company of the last 25 years or so. Well, listen, all three of you have worked really hard. Thank you for killing it. I hope you worked in some good meals along the way.
We did have some great meals, yes. Always in Cannes.
As we close out today's episode, here's a few things we're watching. It's Power of Women season again for Variety. We're getting ready to celebrate this year's West Coast honorees at an event October 30th in Beverly Hills. Our annual issue will be published October 29th. As ever, we will have 5 gorgeous covers, one for each of our honorees: Jamie Lee Curtis, Kate Hudson, Nicole Scherzinger, Sydney Sweeney, and Wanda Sykes. Stay tuned. Before we go, congrats to Yoshinaga Sayuri. The legendary Japanese actress will receive Lifetime Achievement Honors from the Tokyo International Film Festival. That festival runs October 27th through November 5th. Thanks for listening. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Gene Maddaus, Elsa Keslassy, John Hopewell, and Leo Barraclough. Stick, snakes, hick, picks. Please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice, and please tune in Monday for another episode of Daily Variety. La Belle France, tu me manques. Somewhere Louis B. Mayer is going, how did I not think of this? We'll give him 1 minute at a time and charge him to keep going.